guys, today I am not in the Upside Down Art Studio. I am in my classroom and I am going to show you how to draw a dream catcher. This is going to be a lot of fun. You just finished watching my slideshow about Native American art and the dream catcher, and we're going to use everything you've learned to make your really cool, unique dream catcher. So get your supplies ready and let's get started. All right, so I have my paper, and this paper is cut to a little bit different size than we usually use. This is 10 inches wide by 12 inches long because I wanted to draw these big and I wanted to make sure we had enough room to put our feathers down at the bottom. So you're going to use a tin pie plate for our circle for our dream catcher for the hoop, the sacred hoop. And I'm going to put it pretty close to the top of my paper. I'm going to leave a little room here just so I can put like a little string coming down with some beads on it. But I want to have it pretty close to the top because I want to have a lot of room for my feathers at the bottom. I want to draw my feathers pretty long, and I'm going to do several of them. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure it's centered on each side. And I'm going to trace this around. Okay. And then inside that circle, I'm going to draw another circle. And I would say this is probably about 1/4 of an inch. You do not have to measure. It's probably about a pencil width. I'm just drawing a second circle inside, and this is going to be so that I can see the hoop part, the thickness of the hoop. And in a real dream catcher, this would be made out of a willow branch. A willow is a type of tree, and the branches are bendy. They're soft. And so that's what a traditional Native American dream catcher hoop would be made out of. And you can see I'm just kind of sketching this. I'm not expecting myself to get a perfect circle on the first try, so I do baby steps. I call sketching baby steps, where I do little lines and work my way around like that. And it does not have to be perfect, but I just want, that second ring around there so I've got a thickness for my hoop, okay? The next step is to, I've got these all ready for you. So I cut out of cardstock, which is just a thicker piece of paper, I cut out a stencil for us to use. You could make your own if you were doing this on your own at home, but for our class project, I made these all ready for you, so they're ready to go, okay? And we are going to do a radial design, and if you did our Celtic mandala video from the spring, this is very similar. A radial design is a pattern that goes in a circle. It radiates out like the rays at a sun or the petals on a flower. And so this radial design is going to repeat all the way around, okay? So it's going to make a pattern. So the first thing I want to do is kind of find the center. You can kind of eyeball that, okay? And then I'm going to put a dot at the top center of my hoop and the bottom center of my hoop. Now, if you're real perfect and drives you crazy, you want to get a ruler out, that's fine, but it doesn't bother me. I'm going to get it pretty close. I'm also going to put a dot on the center of this left side of the circle and the right side of the circle, okay? And then I want to have marks going all the way around here, kind of like the hands on a clock, so I know where to put this each time I trace it. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to put 2 fingers next to that dot I just made, and I'm going to make another dot. And then I'm going to go 2 fingers, dot, 2 fingers, dot, 2 fingers, dot, and then 2 fingers, and then the dot that's already there. And I'm just going to continue all this all the way around. 2 dots, 2 fingers, a dot, 2 fingers, a dot, 2 fingers, a dot, 2 fingers, a dot. And if it's not perfect, like this one is a little closer, that's okay. It's not going to bother me. If it really, really bothers you, you could measure with a ruler, but being a little bit off is not going to make a big difference on this project. Okay. All right, so I've got all my marks made. Now, I'm just going to take my stencil, and you can decide which way you want it to go. Either way is fine. Just commit to it. Once you've decided, that's the way it's going to be. And so I'm going to put, there's a pointy end on each end. I want to make sure that those pointy ends line up with my dots. They don't have to touch the dots, but they do have to line up with them, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and lightly trace this because I'm going to trace it later with a Sharpie marker. If you don't have a black Sharpie marker, you can use a black colored pencil. You could use just a regular black marker, like a Crayola marker or whatever kind of marker you have. You could even use a black pen. Black Sharpie marker's nice, it shows up good, but if you don't have that, that's okay. And so I'm just going to keep tracing this, and each time I trace it, it overlaps the ones I've already drawn. So you can see how that's starting to look. Alrighty. So this takes a little bit of time. Just go slow so that you know that you're lining them up with the dots. Don't start, having your brain drift off into la la land and then not line them up, because we want them to be evenly spaced out so that it really does make a balanced design where it's even, and when we spin it around, it looks the same from all directions. All right, so we will speed this part up. Okay, so there's the web part of my dream catcher. Isn't that awesome? Like, it's so simple to trace this one shape over and over again, and it looks so complex. I love it. All right, so the next thing that we can do is, while we're still on this web part, if you'd like, you can put some little circles in whatever part you want. I'm putting it where they kind of intersect here. And if you want to put these in a pattern, you can. If you just want to put them on randomly, you can. But this would be the beads. And in a lot of dream catchers, they have beads to embellish or decorate the dream catcher. And sometimes it's also to represent the spider. So this would be a lot of spiders, wouldn't it? But you can color those in later. And like I said, you can put as many on as you want, as few on as you want. You can do them in different colors. You can always go back and add more later too if you decide, yeah, it's kind of plain, I need a few extra ones on here. I'm going to put a few more. And these ones that I'm putting on are kind of more random. Sure. That's good. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my lines where my feathers are going to go. And so these are going to hang down. You can do as many feathers as you want. I'm going to do 3 lines, and I might put a couple feathers on each line. So I'm just going to kind of do a squiggly line coming down. I'm going to bring this one all the way almost to the edge of my paper. And then this next one, I'm going to make just a little shorter. So I've got kind of a space here. And then this one I'm going to do a little bit shorter too. A lot of the dream catchers I've looked at, they have 3 and they'll have a longer one in the center. But I've seen some that have them going all the way across. So you could add more if you wanted to. It's totally up to you. And then I'm going to put my feather at the end of the string. And so to do my feather, I'm going to bring a shape out like this. Kind of a curve here. And a curve here. And I did it right with that line there because then that line is the center of my feather. So I'm going to do those first and then I'll show you how to add some details. So I'm going to go here. And if this was like blowing in the wind or hanging on your wall and the breeze blew into your bedroom, if it was hanging above your bed, these feathers would move. So they don't have to be like perfectly like football shaped. They can be kind of squiggly. So I'm kind of making them a little wiggly. And again, mine are not all exactly the same. I don't want them exactly the same because real feathers would, kind of turn and twist. So I want them to be a little bit different. If you wanted to add more onto this, you could have, another one coming down. If you wanted to have it look like maybe one is behind this one, I could add another one like that. So it looks like it's behind. This is your dream catcher. So you make it look the way that you want it to look. Okay, so I did 3 strings with 2 feathers on each string. And again, it's totally up to you how many you put on there. And you can look at the designs of the real dream catchers in the slideshow, and then also I included drawings of dream catchers in there that you can look at too for ideas on how to do your feathers as well. I'm going to then put some beads along the top here, and you could do beads, you could also do charms, you could do different size beads. Charms are just like little trinket. Sometimes they look like different objects. I know my husband's aunt and uncle make dream catchers. His uncle is Native American, and they made my daughter a dream catcher. It's really cute, and it has Tinkerbell on it. It's really, really cute. It's got a little Tinkerbell charm. So the charms usually give added protection in traditional Native American dream catchers, but today a lot of modern dream catchers will have things that people like, just fun things on them. And so you could sit here and decorate it all day, but we won't. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop myself. Okay. I want to add some detail to my feathers. I think you can see it better at this angle. And so let me start one here, like this way. Sometimes it's hard for me to draw upside down. So my feathers are going to have, the edges to them. And so I'm just making little marks in here to give my feathers a little bit of detail so they look more like feathers. And if you look at the designs in the slides, and you can also Google your own images too, type in Dreamcatcher and look up your own ideas. But you can add, as much detail to the feathers here that you want. Okay, so there's just a little bit of detail in my feathers to make them look a little more like feathers. You can also start to divide this up into sections, because what we're going to do is we're going to add some designs to really jazz this thing up. I've done this for other projects, but there are these little designs called Zentangles, and basically they're just doodles, like really like extra doodles. And you can do lines, you can do shapes, you can color some of them in solid, you can leave them, it's all going to be black and white. So we're going to do this all in black and white. So if you have a Sharpie, great. If you have just a regular black marker, that works too. Some artists do this in all black pen, or you could use a black colored pencil. That would work really good too. I would not use crayon for this, and I would not, that's the only thing I probably would say. I wouldn't use like paint or crayon for this. I would do a black marker, a black pen, or a black colored pencil. But we always start with pencil first, because I like to make a lot of changes and adjustments as I go. I don't like to be locked in. I don't like to commit to anything too soon. Okay, so if you go to your Google slide, you can see your Zentangles. And like I said, they're just all different kinds of designs. So there's all different fun kinds of places I can pop Zentangles in. And you know what, before I do that, right up here, I'm just going to add it so it looks like there's a little loop coming off of here, and I can put some beads on that too. So it looks like it's hanging there. So one good place to put some Zentangles would be in this outer hoop. And I could do this kind of realistic where it looks like the rawhide or whatever kind of strips that they would wrap. I know a lot of people now, when they make modern dream catchers, they'll wrap this hoop with ribbon just to make it look pretty. Traditionally, it was wrapped with a type of rawhide, which is just kind of an animal skin cut into strips. So I'm just going to do kind of a slanted line. And I like to turn my paper. It's a radial design, so if I turn it, every time I turn it, I know that I'm getting it the same all the way around. And then inside these little sections now, I can put some Zentangles. So if I wanted to add some zigzag lines or some polka dots or some squiggles, maybe I'm going to do some zigzag lines in between every other one. And then maybe I'll do dots in the other ones. on my feathers, all these little sections that I've made on my feathers, I can put Zentangles in these too. So maybe I do some stripes in certain parts. Maybe I decide that I'm going to color one of these in, leave one white. Maybe this one gets dots in it. Color this one in, leave this one white. This one gets dots in it. And you don't have to do this in every single part. It's going to depend on you, how much you want in there, how much time you're going to invest in this part of it. You'll know when to stop when you like the way it looks. Okay, and even like these little things here, I could do a design in these beads. Now I could put stripes on them, or I could just decide to color half and leave the other half white. So a lot of this is just going to be deciding to color things in or leave them solid white. Or you could put little designs in them too. And sometimes I decide to add more as I go. But I think I'm pretty happy with this for now. Like I said, go crazy if you want to and add a lot of detail in here. It's totally up to you. So now I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to start tracing. Okay, so I've gone all the way around, and it is very zen. It is very relaxing. It kind of, when you're doing that pattern, you kind of get this zone going. You kind of get this flow going, and it's kind of nice. I'm going to make some decisions now to color some things in. So on my zigzags, I want to get something called contrast. So I just don't want line. Line is one of our elements of art. Shape is also one of our elements of art, and whenever I color in between these lines, I'm going to create some shapes. The other thing is contrast, and contrast is so that everything doesn't look too much the same. We have to have some differences in our artwork, and so if I just do everything white with lines on it, it's okay, but if I color some things in dark now, this gives me some contrast, and what it does is it makes things pop. And so the shapes and the lines really stand out because I've colored some in now, and those shapes that are colored in black really stand out nice against the shapes that are colored in white. You can see them better. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to start coloring some of these in. Okay, so that takes a while. You can see this takes some patience, but it's also very relaxing. So I don't mind it. I like to doodle when I'm doing other things, talking on the phone. I used to doodle in class. Shh, don't get in trouble for doodling in class. But it's relaxing. We all kind of do these little doodles since we were little. So this is just a little more advanced doodling, right? And you don't have to do the same doodles. I did some, I did half my feathers with one pattern and half my feathers with the other pattern, but you can change it up. I may go back in and pop some other things inside of here. You could even put some Zentangles inside some of these sections up here if you wanted to. You could put some around the corners of your paper if you wanted to make a border. And then optional is color. If you wanted to go with colored pencils and color some of this in, you could. This, you'd probably leave the way it is because this is a net and you want it's to catch your bad dreams. Bad dreams get caught in the web, good dreams pass through. So we would want to leave this open, but you could color the hoop, you could color the beads, you could color the feathers, whatever you want to do to make it your own, okay? So I hope you enjoy this lesson, and I cannot wait to see your dream catchers. I know they're going to be amazing. All right, bye guys. I lied, I'm back. I did decide to add some color. So if you want to add some color just for a little pizzazz, a little pop at the end, I didn't add a whole lot. Pick some colors that you like. This is something you could hang above your bed in your room. So can't wait to see them. Okay, I really am leaving this time, guys. See you soon.